Hi, this is a quick video about autism, meltdowns, shutdowns and autistic burnout. So today we're going to look at what meltdowns and shutdowns are, how to support people going through meltdowns and shutdowns. We'll also look at what autistic burnout is and the signs of this, and how to support someone with autistic burnout. So to begin, we'll look at what meltdowns and shutdowns are. They're usually very intense and exhausting experiences, and a meltdown usually occurs when someone becomes completely overwhelmed by their current situation. Meltdowns are usually external, and shutdowns are usually internal. They may look more passive, but they're just as intense as meltdowns. Meltdowns are usually part of autistic regulation, and although we can change the way that we support people, we can't change the whole autistic experience for people. If people are supported holistically, then meltdowns and shutdowns can decrease. When we look at what causes meltdowns and shutdowns, there are a number of things, including sensory overload, changes in routine, anxiety, communication difficulties, emotional or health problems, an unmet need and trauma. When we look at how to support someone through a meltdown and shutdown, it's really important that during a meltdown and shutdown we give people space and time, that we limit the amount of engagement or we use no engagement at all during that meltdown and shutdown, dependent on that person, so it's very individual. And we need to look at if someone's having a lot of meltdowns and shutdowns, then they may have quite a high level of dysregulation, and we need to work out why this is. Post meltdown and shutdown, people may feel a sense of shame, or they may not remember exactly what has happened. They may feel quite tired or exhausted, and this isn't the time to engage people about what has happened during that meltdown and shutdown. Validation of feelings is a really good mechanism to use and a really good tool to use. Accepting how people feel, giving that level of understanding, compassion and empathy for people, and giving people reassurance that everything is fine. Also, we need to look at work or input or strategies so people don't get to the stage of having a meltdown and a shutdown. So we may want to look at these at a time when someone is quite calm, is able to look at their behaviour, is able to reflect on their triggers and why they act in certain ways or why they behave in certain ways. So looking at things like self-regulatory behaviours, so does someone stim? Do people know what stims they have, what they do to calm themselves down? Because these are really good tools to use to calm people down and to regulate people. So looking at what keeps them calm, what are their sensory differences? Do they know what those are? Recognising emotions, can they recognise their emotions when they may be getting quite anxious or frustrated or stressed with a situation? And recognising those triggers, so actually what kinds of things will make people really anxious or really frustrated? Can we avoid those, or can we look at ways of coping with those things? Having escape routes or escape plans, that's not necessarily leaving the room, but it's taking themselves away from that situation. It could be putting on some music, putting on headphones, something that they can escape from that current situation so it doesn't get to the stage of having a meltdown or a shutdown. Looking at someone's communication needs, so do we need to change the way that we communicate with people as and when they present differently or present in different ways? People understanding when they mask, so knowing when they're masking, what that mask looks like, what situations might they mask in. And don't dismiss people's needs, wants, wishes and opinions. So you don't need people to tell you that it's fine for me, I go through all that all the time and it's not that bad, because that just leads to an invalidation of feelings. So we've looked at meltdowns and shutdowns. We're now going to take a look at autistic burnout. So autistic burnout is intense physical, mental or emotional exhaustion. It's often accompanied by a loss of skills, physical and mental, running out of the energy needed to cope with everyday demands or the everyday demands of life. And many autistic people say it results mainly from the cumulative effects of having to navigate a world that is designed for neurotypical people. What causes autistic burnout? There can be a number of factors, and some of these things might occur at the same time, so it may be a number of causes, but it can be things like school, trauma or anxiety induced, high stress and chronic exhaustion from trying to cope with social and sensory experiences, fitting in with society's expectations or people's expectations around the person, that they just can't sustain masking anymore. It's too exhausting for them and that mask may slip. Not feeling in touch with or able to be the authentic self, so not being able to be truly themselves, being misunderstood and criticised. Occurrence of changes, this could be a change to job, relationship, their environment, their routines. And it can be diagnosed as depression, as the symptoms can be quite similar, but it can also lead to depression as well. So it's very important to recognise that actually autistic burnout can lead to depression, but the symptoms of burnout may look similar to depression as well. So some signs of autistic burnout can be things like lack of motivation, a loss of executive functioning, so that could be the ability to plan things, to organise things, difficulties with self-care, loss of speech, situational mutism, lethargy or exhaustion, just feeling extremely tired, can suffer from memory loss and an inability to maintain the mask. So some strategies to try and avoid autistic burnout or limit the effects of autistic burnout. Giving people time to recover. This is the biggest thing that people can provide for people going through autistic burnout, is that time to recover. And when people have recovered, it's a really good idea to look at trying to avoid or get into that stage where people suffer from autistic burnout. So looking at things like scheduling breaks, understanding that people need breaks and when do they need those breaks, what are the signs that we should be looking out for that means that we ourselves need a break or the person that we're supporting needs a break. Managing spoons, which comes from spoon theory and energy accounting, and we'll look a little bit in a bit more detail at this on the next slide. Use of stimming, so can people stim? Are they able to use that stimming as and when needed? Exercise, sticking to routines, so sticking to those things that are not changeable, things that provide that control and comfort for people. Saying no to things, not always agreeing or needing to say yes to things because you think that that's what people expect of you, and having those boundaries in place. Spending time on passions or special interests or creative projects that people can really focus on and get a lot of pleasure out of. Paying attention to the body and what we need. And the use of green and blue spaces. So studies show that spending time in green spaces, so countryside, forest, those types of things, and blue spaces, so wide open spaces, being near the sea, etc. Studies show that these green and blue spaces, spending time in these, can have a positive impact on people's physical, mental health and well-being. To give you some more information around spoon theory and energy accounting, I've just provided some information here. So spoon theory is the idea that most people have an abundance of spoons. However, autistic people have a limited number of spoons that they may start their day with, and when these are running low, they need to step back, rest and wait to replenish these. So you can see from here that this is one person's spoons and how they are replenished and how they're depleted. So for instance, getting out of bed takes away 1 spoon, doing light housework takes away 3 spoons. So you can see if you only have 20 spoons to last you for the day, these can deplete quite quickly depending on the activities that someone takes part in. Energy accounting is this idea that you develop two lists, so a list of things that sap energy, so withdrawals, and a list of things that replenishes that energy. So you can see here this person's list has things like not sleeping takes away 80 numerical points, so a numerical value is assigned to each withdrawal and each deposit to give it a weighting. So for example, 10 points may mean that that activity gives or takes away a little energy, and 100 points means it gives and takes away a lot of energy. The idea is that when a withdrawal or numerous withdrawals are made, deposits have to be made in order to prevent the account running into overdraft and a meltdown occurring. So let's take a quick look at what we have looked at today. We've looked at what meltdowns and shutdowns are. We've looked at how to support people going through meltdowns and shutdowns. We've also looked at what autistic burnout is and the signs of this, and also how to support someone with autistic burnout. For more information on the topics we've covered today, I provided a selection of websites here on this page. There will be other sources of information out there, but these are just a select few that I think are quite interesting, provide some tips and advice and information around meltdowns, shutdowns and autistic burnout, as well as the use of spoon theory and energy accounting. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and you've learnt something from it.